We had a guy came with his girlfriend and they wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Only after when we reached the top, then we realized this guy proposed to his girlfriend at the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro. Man, that was like, what? So that's why he said that? So it was, I think that's one moment that I'll remember forever, I guess, because he went through a lot to make it worth it. And this is the thing about clients. Sometimes they really don't care about the name or so-and-so. Provided that you're giving them a good service, they don't care where you go. But if you are still a leader in that journey, they'll still stick to you.
How was the journey of growing these two businesses?
So ideally, first and foremost, it's exactly like you said. It's like one step at a time. For example, like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, for example, it will teach you basic business principle about growth because it tests every part of yourself, but it also speaks about provided that you're making steps, then you're going to reach to the top.
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Pivot, the podcast where we bring you honest, unfiltered journeys from Africa's entrepreneurs and innovators.
I'm Kabwela Malupande, joined by my co-host, Martin Vitek. Each episode, we dive deep into the realities of building and growing businesses on our continent. Let's get started. This is Beyond the Pivot.
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Pivot. Today, we are joined by Allen Kimbelwa, who bridges the gap between the boardroom and the bush. As the founder of Adelphos, he has advised over 100 organizations on navigating the complexities of the Tanzanian market while simultaneously leading Wild Reality Safari, a 100% locally owned operation rooted in the heritage of his homeland. He is the ultimate guide for anyone looking to do business or find adventure in East Africa. We are happy to have you, Allen, and welcome to Beyond the Pivot.
Well, thank you so much, Martin, for having me Beyond the Pivot. I'm really looking forward to share my heart, really more or less about my journey, and I'm so happy to be here. It's really a great honor and a great opportunity again to have this moment together.
Awesome. So let's start quick. A lot of people are busy, so some might just have 24 hours to visit Tanzania. Where would you take them so they can experience and bring this beautiful experience home and to tell other people to come to Tanzania again? So what would you show them in those 24 hours?
Well, that's always very tricky, Martin, especially knowing that Tanzania is a very big country and very diverse. From bush to beach, we have the most beautiful island, Zanzibar, the highest mountain in Africa called Mount Kilimanjaro, and wonderful national park like the Serengeti and the Ngorongoro. So if somebody had a 24 hours, what will that person do? Assuming this person loves nature and maybe loves a little bit of trekking, I will try to entice this person to do a one-day trek to Mount Kilimanjaro. So we literally have an option for somebody can do one trek up to the first base camp of Mount Kilimanjaro. I feel that's a great opportunity for somebody to walk inside this beautiful nature rainforest of Mount Kilimanjaro, seeing really nice scenery of nature up to the first base camp and then coming down. So I feel that will be a great opportunity that will give something very remarkable.
So during those 24 hours and to the hike of the first base camp of Mount Kilimanjaro, I suppose you would tell them about Adelphos along the way. So
Yes.
would you be able to tell them about, would you be able to tell our guest about Adelphos as well?
Yeah, so it's funny because, whenever you do this, for example, like when you're doing like let's say trek on Mount Kilimanjaro or when you're going on safari, it comes down to personal thing. I mean, they will always be inspired to ask you like, who are you? How did you do this? What are you doing? Why? They'll always ask you. So it's only fair that you can tell them everything about you. So for example, you can say, okay, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm running this safari company, or I'm also running another business like a consultant's business. And then they come the second question like, but how do you do the two business together? And then you really need to explain to the traveler what it takes to survive, especially like in Africa. Like you end up doing some multiple things together just to make sure that you're able to, to grow, to meet your ends meet, but also to to prosper, should I say. So yes, I'll have an opportunity to talk about Adelphos. I'll have a chance to talk about wide reality safari, and I also have an opportunity to talk about Tanzania in general and the people and the culture. So it's a good connection because it's like 8 kilometers going up and then 8 kilometers coming down. So in total, you almost have like 8 hours just to talk. So you're going to talk more than just the climb.
Is there some like cool stories you remember from the clients that they told you on these hikes, like some that stands out and you remember it till this day?
Yeah, so there are some things that actually say, and there are also some moment actually. We had a guy, he came with his girlfriend and they wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. But for some reason we didn't know why. You know, he came to the guides and then he told them, guys, you do whatever you have to do, but make sure that my girlfriend reaches at the top. Okay, we didn't understand at that moment. Only after when we reached to the top, then we realized this guy proposed to his girlfriend at the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro. Man, that was like, what? So that's why he said that, you know? So it was, I think that's one moment that I'll remember forever, I guess, because he went through a lot to make it worth it.
Yeah,
Yes.
especially instructing those helpers, right, to get her there. I really want to do this.
Yeah. I really want to do it, but he was smart enough not also to say, but like why he insisted. But okay, they actually this couple are coming from France, so it was really emotional, and they were crying and crying. So you could imagine going down how it was. You know, we become extra careful. Like, hey, watch out, don't fall down. No, watch out, look. You know, you want to make sure that they're like super safe and they're okay and everything. So those were actually the moments. So it was really remarkable experience, I should say.
Yeah. It's very beautiful.
Yeah.
Like they will remember it for the rest of their life, especially since it was through some hardship as well. You know, to get up there is not easy. I know my sister said it takes like 4 days if you want to do it properly, or 5 days with the height adjustments and elevation adjustments and so on. So is it regular that people do it in 3 days or 5 days? What is your experience?
No, so ideally you have to do 6 days going up and then 2 days coming down. So it takes 6 days going up and then 2 days coming down. So each day you reach to the first, there's like a base camp, there's like a public camping area. So that's where like your resting night, you take the night from there before you continue the following morning for another trek for a couple of hours until the evening. So that's how you go day by day, like that, until you reach the summit. And I think I just also want to make one small comment. I remember there was a time. Now, this was a family that they did a safari, and when they left, they're actually American, a group of family together. So they come together, 9 people. They recommended me to another client, and she wrote an email to introduce her friend. And then below down, she said, Allen, I think about my trip every day. That it just, I think it touches me so deeply when she ended with that email, that she think about the trip that they did every day. And this is what I think travel can do. It's more of transformation and more than leisure, especially when you get to do it with, maybe with a local company that is on the ground, because they are able to share those moments with you.
I feel what you describe, it kind of transforms to the life that you have as an entrepreneur as well, because going through the Kilimanjaro is, different steps, you have to go through the base camps to adjust and so on. It's like before you start the Reality Safari and Adelphos, or even in your current projects, I feel like there has to be steps that let you grow, right? Like that you just don't start from 0 to 100. You go from 0 to 20%. You learn, you adjust. Something doesn't work out, so you go to the next pivot. Essentially, the same when it goes to something that you will remember for the rest of your life. Those kind of things. Like I still think about the trip till this day. Is like you think about those moments that transform your business to the next level, let's say. So how would you describe the journey of building Valdrate Safari and Adelphos? Like, what was it before? Like, did you build some businesses before, or was it just straight into these two? And how was the journey of growing these two businesses?
Yeah. So thank you so much, Martin. Yes. So ideally, first and foremost, it's exactly like you said. It's like one step at a time, and just like what you say, like for example, like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, for example, it will teach you this basic business principle about growth because
Mhm.
it tests every part of yourself, but it also speaks about provided that you're making steps, then you're going to reach to the top. So that will also speak to you. The journey will speak to you. So ideally, my background is, I have a bachelor degree in information technology and I have a master's degree in business administration. So my work life actually started when I finished university. And so my bachelor degree, I did it at Makerere University in Uganda. And I did my master's degree at Coventry University in the UK in collaboration with our local university in Tanzania called Institute of Accountancy, Arusha. So ideally, when I finished my first degree, I started working as a teacher, actually, at a training institute for like 4 years. I was teaching about business, about IT. And then I went to a sales. I was working for another company as a sales representative until I joined a consultants company back in, I think it was 2016, actually. There was one local consulting company where they brought me in as a senior consultant. And my job role was to promote training because they're doing a lot of training. So when I was doing the training, selling training, I'll go to one company after another. So my job was never to sit in the office, but to go and look for clients. After working for, I think, a couple of months, we started to venture into consultancy. And I remember we welcomed the first investor into our company. This investor actually wanted to set up a company and operation in Tanzania. And I was supposed to handle that client. So I did. I handled the client very well. And he refers to another client and then another client and then another client. So when I was working in this consultant company, I think it's very clear that when you're in consulting space, you become a brand to your clients. They know that, okay, you want something done? Okay, I know Martin. Martin will do a good job. Just call Martin. He'll get it done. And that's how I grew out from there. So after working there for 3 years, I was like, these thoughts start coming within me like, okay, maybe you should, just start something for yourself, why don't you do it, But I keep pushing them aside. I push them aside a lot until one moment, I think, and of course, a lot of people were coming in the part of my life, like, they could also motivate me like, oh, you can try, you can do it, those moments were there. So, yeah, so eventually I, just sign up another consultant company while I was still employed with my employer. But because of my integrity, I couldn't run the two companies at the same time. So one day I told my boss, like, as our idea, like, hey, I need to talk to you. And then she was like, what do you want to talk about? It's like, yeah, I just want to talk to you. So we went, and because she sounded it sounded different, like normal days I'll go to our office. And then I told her, like, okay, I'm gonna quit. And then she was like, what? You're gonna open? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna open the same company as I'm doing? Then I told her, like, no, please don't ask me that question because I cannot lie to you. I have to tell you the truth. She's like, no, tell me. I was like, yes, I'm gonna open up a similar company. But she was very smart, actually. She said, Alan, then let's have a deal. Let's split the clients. So 50 you keep, 50 I keep. I think it was clear that the more I was so much connected to our clients, the feeling was if I was going to walk away, then maybe all the clients is going to walk with me because
If you're enjoying this episode, take a second to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us reach more people and keep these conversations going. Thanks for your support.
And this is the thing about clients. Sometimes they really don't care about the name or so and so. Provided that you're giving them a good service, they will always, they don't care where you go, but if you are still a leader in that journey, they'll still stick to you. So even when I told them that, look, I'm leaving, they're like, Alan, we don't care where you're going, but provided it's you that you're gonna do it, then it's okay with us. So that's how the journey started. And in this consultancy, basically, with Adelphos, the company that I set up, basically what we do is we do like tax advisory, accounts, payroll, legal advisory, investment advisory. It's more or less like you as an investor, when you want to come to Tanzania and you're navigating the local compliance and tax framework, and you need a local consulting company or person who can help you understand this framework here, like help you to establish your company, help you to, run or support you with an outsourced service by guiding you with tax matters, accounts, and payroll. So that's how the Adelphos company started. And I think the last sign I had is when I went to tell my wife, Beatrice. I think it was a very hard decision by then because we were actually expecting a child that time, and I told her, like, Beatrice, I'm quitting. She looked at me for like few minutes, and then I was like, okay, what did I do? And then she said, she held my hand, and then she said, Alan, I support you. I was like, you know what? That's the thing I really needed to hear. And I think I got the support, and those were more or less the signs, because whenever you're doing into this kind of venture, there are always some few signs that will always pop up that will act as a green light, like whatever you're about to do, I think it's the right decision. So that was in 2020 when we set up Adelphos, and we moved in. I looked for an office, and we started building the team. Until now, we are serving a number of different clients coming in, and we have a very dedicated team of people, and we feel so proud that we are a local consulting company that are helping businesses to flourish and to navigate the compliance framework in Tanzania. So we have a team of accountant, lawyers, tax, business support, and people who are on the ground who are moving from one area. And being in the consulting space, clients always ask you that it never stops of the level of work that they want. The next thing you know, they're like, oh, we're trying to clear this consignment coming in. Can you help us with that? So you always take a lot of things all together. So that's the journey of Adelphos that has actually grown, and 99% of all our clients, we normally get them to referrals that they always refer us to. So, and that's how we get like that. So you open an email, poop, and
Is there?
because it's so that's how it's for the Adelphos part. Well,
and where do these people come from usually? What countries? I know you said they are international, but do you see a trend they are mostly from, let's say, France or some different countries around the world?
Yeah, so different mostly Europe, because we have a lot of clients who are coming from, for example, from Netherlands, like from Netherlands, and British clients as well. Germany, we're having those. We also having clients coming from South Africa, as well, from Asia, particularly India. So that's a diverse clients. US, we also have clients who are also coming from US as well.
And what kind of business are they setting up? Is it more like a high-tech thing, or extracting minerals? Because you always mentioned, and you are very proud of it, that they are 100% local, owned and managed and run business, right? So very Adelphos and Reality Safari. So I'm wondering if you see what kind of benefits do you see for these like international companies to set up in Tanzania, also for the local community, not just that you have a client which is nice and they are happy with your services, but if there is also any additional benefits to it.
Yeah, so the benefits, for example, are both, economical, social, as well. I mean, from business benefit perspective, is that, well, Tanzania is still very young, developing country, so there are a lot
Mhm.
of opportunities which are presented. And what we have seen is people come here, maybe they're doing agriculture. So we have a untouched land here in Tanzania, which is very rich and this is very natural. So we have a lot of companies who are doing, for example, flowers, who are
Mhm.
doing horticultures, and these are some of them are our clients. And we also have clients who are doing real estate
Mhm.
business here, clients who are in oil and gas and mining perspective, and then clients who are doing general trading, like
Mm.
agriculture input and things like that. And this is the diversity. So they can be agriculture. We are also are doing software, like IT kind of support. So
Mhm.
that's where the diversity is, particularly that we're seeing. The benefit is also on the ground because whenever people come, I mean, the local also benefits. I mean,
Yeah.
for example, in Tanzania, they benefit a lot in terms of, because the local skills, because they need, for example, the agriculture clients, they employ, for example, we have one client that employs over 300 people,
Mhm.
Tanzanians, to work in these big agricultural fields. So again, this is a great opportunity for people who are in the agriculture space.
I suppose that you have to, like, Tanzania is having a big rivalry with Kenya, since you are kind of, similar countries next to each other, similar size and so on. So when you are talking to somebody from outside of Africa or maybe East Africa, how do you persuade them that it's better to go to Tanzania than to Kenya, which could be perhaps more connected, like we talked about before, more flights and everything? So what is
Yeah. So,
the
so
selling point for Tanzania?
well, we always not kind of complain, but we always say that um, Kenya likes to make fun of us because we're neighbors.
Hmm.
Kenyans say Tanzanians are too polite. Like, we are
Hmm.
very humble people. They are extremely overwhelmed on how polite Tanzanians can be. For example, a Tanzanian will go to a shop and buy a soda, but they'll say, "Can I please have a soda?"
Hmm.
So Kenya will say, "But why do you have to do that? Why do you have to beg for soda?" They even make jokes like, if we want to get married, we'll even ask, "Can I please marry?" Like, we beg for a marriage. So they make a huge fun of us, and they really, really, really laugh. And so we normally say, look, yes, Kenya was quite, when you look at back in the age, even during the colonial time and everything, was always a hub for East Africa. So in terms of development, it was so loud out there, like they could push and market about their country.
Hmm.
So when people look at East Africa, they could look at Kenya, is because that's what they read about, that's what they see. They also, even when it's like in athletes, they're good in running and things like that. So they're so loud in the outside world. But what we normally tell them, that look, Kenya is all that. Tanzania is coming up. Tanzania
Hmm.
is next in line. There's so much opportunity when it comes to Tanzania. With regards, we talk about size of the country. We say Tanzania is almost bigger size. The natural resources present in Tanzania are not, you cannot compare them to Kenya. Even when
Kenya.
you look at
Yeah.
the size of the wildlife, when you look at the size of the Serengeti, the upper extension of the Serengeti is what a third, I should say. A third is what we call the Masai Mara in Kenya. But the bigger size of the Serengeti is all on the Tanzanian side. So you can tell that you talk about the landscape, you talk about the natural resources. We have gas, we have gold, we have mining, we have so much. The natural resources are so vast. We have Zanzibar, the most beautiful island in all of Africa. So we tell them, look, when you come to Tanzania, it's like you've visited 5 African countries together. So why do you wanna go to Kenya? You should just come and stay in Tanzania. So, and Kenya can't
Yeah.
stand that. They have you just outsmart that, and they'll not say anything else after that, because you have literally spoken the whole truth. So that's how.
So you have kind of
That's like the
So you have kind of cards in your hand, and that's why you can be so polite. Not like the
Yes.
Kenyans, where they have to be loud and brash, let's say.
Yes, they have to. Yeah, that's so aggressive. Like, hey, give me a soda or do this, do this. So, but
Yeah.
Tanzanians are they're very, very humble, and I think that's that's us. That's who we are.
Mhm.
We can't change who we are. Yeah.
And what brought you after 2020? You started Adelphos. That must have been a lot of work, and then you started Wild Reality Safari a couple of years after. So you added even more workload on yourself. So what brought you to that journey or to that decision? Because it sounds kind of completely different type of business, and it has to be something that you love nature, otherwise you wouldn't do it. So I'm wondering what was the reasoning, what brought you to loving the nature so much, and why start at that particular time?
Yeah. So back in 2020, I didn't know what was gonna happen 3 years afterwards. I think life is just full of surprises because I remember in 2022, just 2 years after starting Adelphos, I think it's within my heart. That's when the desire to start a safari company. And mind you, some of the clients who we serve under Adelphos are also tour companies. I mean, I kind of come across them, but I never desired to do any of those things. But in 2022, the feeling was just too unbearable, to be honest. I literally spoke to my friend, Andrew. I think we were driving down, and then I told him, Andrew, I want to do this. The guy was super excited. I think even I was also so surprised why he was so excited. It's like, I think he had so much faith in me. He kind of figured out that I'll do it or I'll be able to manage because maybe that what he's already seeing what I'm doing from Adelphos. But to understand that, we need to go back when I was very young, Martin, because when I was in grade 6, there was a trip which was only exclusive for grade 7 students to go to the national park called Selu, which is now called the Nyerere National Park. So, but I went to told my mom about it, and I told my mom because her office was right bordering our school. So I went talked to her just after break about it. I was like, Mom, you need to talk to one of the teachers here to let me just to sneak in and attend the big guys trip. Yeah, so she did, and she paid for the school. For the trip. So I went to the Nyerere National Park, and I think that's where the transformation happened because when I saw the elephants, the leopard in their wild, it just moved me so much. So moving forward afterwards, it just changed me that I fell in love with nature. So growing up, I will tell my dad, like, Dad, we need to have a bigger window in our house so that we can have more wind coming in. And my dad will look at me like there's something wrong with this kid. So I was the one that I was having a dog in our house. No one else was having a dog. So I was the one raising dogs in the house. During school breaks, I'll go camping in one of the mountains in Lushoto, and my mom will be so worried about it, and my dad. So, and I was always just watching National Geographic. Like, I'll hear a little story of the famous, I think the British, I think guy, it's called Sir David somebody. I was watching about his stories. So that beauty, it was so much, it was so strong. Then I said, okay, you know what? Let me also look into starting the tour company. But I made a promise to myself that, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it so differently than any other person who is doing it. So I took my experience with running a business. Then I set up I set up a company with all, with all the needed compliance and everything else what is needed. Then I said, okay, we're going to invest in marketing, but we want to go to places where no one else has ever gone. Like we want to attend travel fairs that no one else has ever attended. No one else from Tanzania has ever attended. And so that's where the inspiration also really came from. But we wanted to start a company that is also, it having pure standard and procedure, like having liability insurance as a company, registering yourself with reputable organization like the ATT, Adventure Travel Trade Association, and looking at the data in terms of locally owned tour operators in Tanzania. I mean, they're not that many, because you need to understand the demographic. I mean, we have big company corporates. I mean, these are big tour company from abroad that have invested here. They've invested here because it's everything is here. I mean, nature, Mount Kilimanjaro, Zanzibar. So this is a perfect country to invest.
I have never been to a like international market fair, like you go around the world to promote the company you have, the Valdrate Safari. So how do you convey this personalization, this like special feelings to people that are just at a stand, in some hall or like giant hotel banquet room, so they understand that they should work with you?
Martin, it's a mere fact that if whoever, okay, first you are in an environment where it's a B2B or a B2C. So if it's a B2B, it means other businesses are looking for it, or they want to work with you, or they want to work with somebody, because that's why they are there in the first place. And then, or if it's B2C, then you're meeting with customer who thinking about traveling. And mind you, they can be thinking beyond Africa. So that's why they're there in the first place. But how you make them end up either to partner with you or to want to travel with you, one is, okay, they see the authenticity. Like, okay, number one, you come from Africa, you come from Tanzania, okay? But number two, you have this great energy and this great passion that you talk about these things, that people really love the enthusiasm about it. Excuse, excuse me. They love they love the energy behind it, because they can see that whatever you're talking about, it. It's not something that you're representing someone else, but no, it, you did it, you're good at it, it. It's like somebody talking about your product. Let's say you design a certain product that you're pitching in front of investors. You will talk until the investor tell you, okay, I think we heard enough. So I think we trust you. So I think the mere fact that you come with a great knowledge about the destination and you tick all the boxes. I mean, you talk about the logistics, you talk about the trip, you talk about the practical information, you tell them how to prepare, you tell them everything that is on their mind. And when you reach that moment or to that level, then they feel that they are willing at least to work or consider you, because you have ticked all the boxes. You have talked about insurance, you talked about the weather, you have talked about the landscape of an area, you talk about the lodges, you've talked about the airline, how to get to Tanzania, you've talked about the vaccination, what vaccination do you need to come to Tanzania, you talked about the local people, you've talked about the currency of Tanzania, you've talked about clothing, you've talked about all those things. So these are things which are running in the mind. But so as a business person, as an entrepreneur, you shouldn't just focus on one thing, but cover all this perspective. And lastly, you bring, I call it, you bring the bomber.
What is that?
I always tell them, there is no better way to experience a destination than doing it with a local. So that always carry weight, because they feel like you are local, you're the one who knows it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true that there is nobody else that knows it better than the guys that grew up in that location, right? That they know where to go for the local fruit, how the market works. You don't have to study it in your travel guide. You have the local guys there. So based on how you were saying that it was kind of difficult, but not impossible to start a business in the beginning, especially with having the condition to get a very expensive safari vehicle, and you had to talk to your friend and figure out a way how to get it done. what would you advise guys today, like in Arusha, Dar es Salaam, or Zanzibar, that I have a business idea. They might be out of school, they got their MBA, they worked a couple of years like you did. How is that environment now for them? Is there a potential to get a support like financial way, or is the legislature easy? How does it look like at all?
Okay, so number one is, and thank you so much for asking that question. So now, number one is, I think we are living in the world where literally now we're living the era of AI. So literally, if somebody wants to start something, whatever they want to do, they could literally search about that particular thing or business, that idea that they have. But I think it comes down to some really core basic things. I think number one is knowing what you want. I mean, you can't do everything that you think that you want to do. So you really need to know what you want. And knowing what you want, it is as easy as what is your energy driving you to? I mean, what is one thing that if somebody wakes you up at 1 a.m., you will not mind doing it? I mean, if somebody wakes you up 2 p.m. or 3, you wouldn't. I mean, you'd wake up every morning, you will dare do it against all odds. If you have that energy for that one thing or two things that you can do it regardless of the circumstances, then that should be a mere sign in discovering what you truly want to do. So there must be an energy driving towards it, because otherwise you will not keep up. You're going to give up along the way, maybe 1 year or 2 years. And that's why we normally see a lot of businesses also dying after 1 or 2 years. So number one, you really need to have that energy for it. Number two, you really need to know how business works. That's really important, because at this moment, you are more or less driven with, let's say, a vision or a passion or a desire of something, But putting the structure of it, there's a compliance component of it. For example, in Tanzania, you need to register a company. So there's literally an agency for that. And now, thankfully, you can just do that online. So anyone can register a business online, provided they have a national identity card. And then number two, we have a revenue body called the TRA, Tanzania Revenue Authority. So once the company is registered, you need to get a tax identification number, which is called as a TIN number. Then you have to get a business license that allows you to do that nature of business. So you really need to know how that business works. So what are the compliance that are needed for me to run this business? Because formalizing your business will also mean you can be credible or bankable. When you go to the financial institution, they can see that you're formal and they're willing to, to listen to you in the first place because you have all this compliance. So that number two of knowing how business works is very, very important, because we have seen businesses where maybe 3 years down the line, they come with maybe a huge tax burden, which they could have avoided maybe just at the foundation stage. And if you don't know how business works, it's important at least to, ask around. I mean, literally go to the local, somebody that you know, because somebody within your network, probably there must be somebody who knows how to do tax returns, how to do accounts, there's always somebody within your network. So, in Africa, it's funny because sometimes we can be so secretive, like you have this idea, you don't want to tell anybody. So you want to die with it. So even just to go and talk to a friend of you who does tax, like, okay, I want to start, what are the compliance? You feel like this person will steal that idea from you. But I think that's a mindset that we really need to wake up and not believe that anymore, because whatever you want to do, nobody will have that level of energy the way you have it. So even if somebody will do it, they will no way do it like the way that you want to do it. So my advice is don't be shy. Go out there and ask somebody out there who can really maybe who is an expert in that area and can really help you on those things. And number three, I think it's very important to get the right team or the right partner. I mean, somebody who either you want to work with, or maybe if it's, for example, in Tanzania, to run a company, you need to have a minimum of 2 shareholders and 2 directors. So, I mean, for somebody who is already married, maybe you can even make your wife as a shareholder if you don't want a friend to become a shareholder.
Bring the business to home.
Yes. And so it becomes a family business. For somebody who's not yet
Yeah,
married,
yeah.
maybe you can, you know, reach out to somebody who you can trust, and then you can make them a shareholder. And then if you don't trust anybody, then you can make your father or your mama to be a shareholder, because they don't have to do anything, because they just have to appear there as shareholders and directors. So there's so many options into getting the 2 shareholders and 2 directors. So from there, you need to have a right team, people who will be willing to, who will be working with you. They will understand the vision. They'll be able to handle the vision, because sometimes whatever that you want to do might be needing people to be patient. When I started at Adelphos, I started in a very tiny office. I mean, it was like 20 square. I think it was only 20 square meters. There were only 2 people. A guy was just sitting across just I think 3 steps away, and we keep looking at each other every day. And that went for months. Like 6 months or 8 months down the line. So it's not easy, but you need to have that resilience. So for somebody to sit with you for 8 months and you're just looking at each other, no client, no nothing, but still pretend like you're clicking something on a laptop or a computer. It speaks volumes. So you need those kind of people who are willing to have the patience. So, but you need to believe in yourself that, okay, I will still be here. So, but of course, over here, you're going to grow like the way we are today. We grow, we move to a new office. So you need to have that right team to make sure that, okay, these people are going to help me and everything else. And I think number 4 is to, have the patience. Young people today, I'm pretty young as well. I'm still in my 30s. Sometimes we're so motivated with what we see on social media or what we see on TV, on YouTube. We demand that life that we see people having. But it takes time. It takes time to build a sustainable business. It takes time to build, to become really a, a pro entrepreneur. Not really a pro as an expert, but really somebody who really stand on his feet as an entrepreneur. So it takes time. So we need to have we need to have patience in this, because that's the only way this is going to work. So have the patience into this. And I think last, don't be shy. You need to be a great communicator. Let people see something different in you. Don't be shy. Speak, because that's one thing that God has given you, that a mouth to speak, to communicate. So I think we really need to take advantage of this gift that I think God has given us to be able to communicate. So if you do that, then
I would
people
say
will come.
how you described it was, I start with the energy level up here, going crazy high, and then like I have to figure out the compliance, and that's gonna take me right down to the bottom again, because I have to, like you said, figure it out, talk to people, make sure I register correctly, so the offices don't come after me because I didn't pay taxes or don't have some kind of number. And then I see that a lot in like why would I tell anybody about my super idea, but you just told us about Valdra to Safari, but that doesn't mean like I will be able to make it happen. There is no way I can make this happen. So that's it's pretty awesome to, like, if you realize that it takes that like fear of something being stolen from you away, because you will always make it unique. And lastly, I love that you said God gave you a mouth. Yes, but he also gave you, or she also gave you 2 ears, right?
Yes.
So if you speak, also listen, because
Yeah.
people actually tell you what they want to be built, what they are missing, or if you listen carefully and ask the right questions. So those are like perfect advice for anybody starting out. Essentially, if you don't have the energy, that's gonna kill you. But if you don't have a proper license number, that's gonna kill you as well, and it's gonna be maybe more hurtful.
Correct.
So, what do you see like Tanzania growing to? You know, what kind of a shift you would like to see in Tanzania, perhaps in the people and the mindsets that you know people would consider this more often to start a business for themselves, to start a business to employ their friends, their colleagues, their community, and grow that way. Because essentially, country only grows if the SMEs grow. You know, economically. If you are enjoying this episode, take a second to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us to reach more people and keep these conversations going. Thank you for your support.
Yeah, it's very true, Martin. I mean, I I think I think you know I think we need to take an opportunity of the small businesses, because these small, medium price businesses are growing. I mean, you have a population of young people who are maybe they're in their 30s, not even 40s, but they have this privilege, for example, to have this exposure. Maybe they're researching about it online, or some other young people have traveled outside Tanzania or everything. There's a great deal of exposure of and desire for people to start in business. So the desire for businesses is mounting so rapidly and so hugely. And I feel we are the next generation. Of course, we look up to successful businesses in Tanzania. And these are big companies which have started for many, many years. And we look at them as our fathers, like these are our, this maybe the second generation business owners. And these are big people who are featured in different parts. But next to that, I think the small businesses are where the future is. So I feel there's more to be done in terms of small business, particularly. I was listening to, I think, a podcast by the former, the Africa Development Bank president. Um,
Mhm.
I think he was being interviewed, I think in Nigeria, and I think he made a very good comment. He said, young people don't need empowerment, don't need use soft skills. Young people want real things. So, and he made that comment by also trying to pull in financial institutions, saying financial institutions need to take risks with young people, because when you go to a financial institution today, they're gonna ask you a lot of stuff. Just
Mhm.
to ask for capital injection. They're gonna ask you for so many things that you need to comply, you need to give them in order to get that
Yeah.
funding. So, but they need to do more than that. They need to come to your office. They need to listen to you. They need to understand, what vision do you have? What are some of the marketing? What are you already doing? What looks to be promising? What sort of partnership have you already created? What looks to be maturing in the next 6 or 1 year? So
Mhm.
what is your potential? They need to study you in and out, and not just from the checklist of documentation that you have to give for them to trust you. I think if they have to do that little bit of a level, to
Mhm.
ensure that they really want to study somebody, get to know somebody, if they have to do that much, I think the gap, if we fill this gap here of young business, I'm telling you, it's going to be a huge transformation, because these are people who are not scared at the same time. I mean, these are not people that, okay, if they come to you, it's funny. Sometimes I would walk. I could imagine, like, okay, what if I walk and I find somebody who would be willing to give me, like, let's say $1 million.
Mhm.
It's funny that I'm not scared. I'm not scared if somebody says want to, because I know exactly where to take it, or I know exactly where to invest it into. But it won't be easy for somebody just to walk in and say, okay, I want to invest, or I want to inject this amount of money. But I think if people could really listen to small businesses, they are confident that they know that they know where to invest, or they know where to take this injection, and raise them, because sometimes they just need a little bit of a push, because no one is there. No one is coming to listen to you. Nobody's coming to listen to the struggle that you go through. You're just all on your own. So this is the opportunity that is out there, that I feel if we can work together with financial institutions, and then that can, it's gonna work, because the policy is there. I mean, the policy to anyone to start business, running business, it's there. It's available. Anyone can do it. There's already so much incentives that is available. For example, in Tanzania, we have something called a Tanzania Investment Center, which is now changed its name to TASESA. I mean, literally, there are different type of incentives TISESA. There are different types of incentives that one can get from opening a big business, from incentive with regards to exemptions on the capital goods that you'll be bringing and things like that. For example, Wide Reality, we are registered ourselves with, for example, with TISESA. So that means for all our capital goods that we bring in, we get exemption from import duty. Like if we bring in vehicles, if we import them from overseas, then they get exempted from import duty. So already the incentive is there, but there is more there. I think there are other element that needs to come in and just close that gap.
Yeah. Like the kind of missing working capital, the small business financing from banks, and how is it supplemented? Because the money has to flow even if the banks are not doing it. So are there like so many fintech solutions, or is there like good angel network that you can go to? Or like how do people do it? If let's say if you would have to buy like 3 more vehicles now, you have a good record and everything. Would it be easy to get that loan in a bank now, or would you have to go somewhere else?
No, so ideally, one way on how people actually supplement that is that they just have to find a way to make it work. Like that means the level of expansion they would have done maybe within 5 years should have been maybe 4 times than what they're already doing if they had the capital needed. So eventually what is happening is that you're forced to start small, or you're either looking for other partner who can come in and inject their money. And then day by day, you have to, continue knowing that, okay, I'm not in full control because someone else is in here. You have to deal with that feeling for those who are not, good at dealing with that feeling. But yes, I mean, financial institutions do eventually support you, but not to the scale that perhaps you would want it to be done. But you wouldn't want to go to, because sometimes financial institution, I mean, the interest rate is also enormous. I mean, you pay up to 18% of interest rate. That's huge, man. That's literally,
Crazy.
it's crazy. So you either look for other alternative, and that's why we are having a generational where young people are also looking to, like venture capital, like looking for capital outside, and they try to they go beyond our borders to look for capital to support their business. So that's where we're seeing that.
Yeah, so looks like Tanzania is in a great place. It just needs to unplug the capital flow so more money can stay inside, essentially, as well. And maybe that sounds kind of easier done than it can be in the reality, right? So where do you see back to you? Where do you see Wild Reality Safari being in like the next 3-5 years? And Adelphos still running, or are you not going to be doing anymore because you'll be in the bush all the time and not in the boardroom?
No, my dream is these two companies will just barely just stand on their own, and I don't even have to be there. Maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 years from now, I don't have to be there anymore. But yeah, so ideally, we're looking forward maybe in the next 10 years, within 10 years, maybe we can build our own lodges, build our own lodges, because that way we can keep the income within ourselves, because now we're working with our partners we truly love. And, but you can see that if you have your own lodges, the confidence even to go and market is even huge, because sometimes when you're looking for the bigger market, you're also subjected to the availability of the accommodation depending on the timing what they want to come. So having your own lodge, that means you're also, promoting the sustainability in terms of growth. That okay, so even if clients do come, then you still have accommodation to put them, and you can still work with other partners. So you're increasing the gap of opportunity in terms of employment and things like that. So that is where we see ourselves, like owning our own lodges, possibly also adding more vehicles as well into the company. The team here, that's what we see with regards to the safari. But of course, Adelphos, it's our, I call it the father. It's really growing, and we continue to get referrals from different clients who are coming in. So it's both are literally growing to, I say, to the direction where we want them to see to grow. And I see that the potential is there, provided we keep doing what we're doing. I think what we're working on right now is just building a structure, or what we call like a winning team, because I came to know that's very, very important, especially if you're having, for example, let's say assets, or for example, Wide Reality, we have two branches. We have a branch here in Dar es Salaam, but we also have a branch in Arusha. So you need to make sure that all the team is aligned. So if you come to have your own lodges, let's say, that will mean even more team which are sitting there in the bush. So how can you manage a team of people who are in the bush? So that means you need to have a proper structure, which is, to be honest, it's not an easy job to do. That's another thing that you need to keep learning as an entrepreneur. Like, you have to learn how to build that team, because people are going to look up to you. So we're in that stage where we're forming those structures and testing those structures if it works.
So if somebody wants to see you, invest in your lodges, or perhaps even in a plane, so you are completely end-to-end service, flying your own planes from Arusha to Zanzibar, how can they find you? What can they do to get into contact with you?
Well, one is they can always visit one of our companies. I mean, we have Adelphos, we have our email out there. If they want to come through Adelphos, or if they want to come through Wide Reality, similarly through our website, we have an email ID there. You can just always send us an email. You can reach out to me personally, like looking to, connect with me during LinkedIn. My name is Allen Kimbelwa. And of course, as you connect, you can always write a simple message like, well, I kind of heard you during the Beyond the Pivot. I would like to connect. And we can always build up from there. I mean, I think that's one way on how we can ensure that we keep the connection going.
Thank you, Alan. I hope as many people will visit you, at least your Instagram, TikToks, LinkedIn's, websites, everything, and see those beautiful experiences people are having, and how well you are advising those companies trying to go to Tanzania as well. And I wish you the best, and I wish to visit you soon, as long as my son is at least 5 years old, so we can travel and stay with you in your own lodge.
Oh yes, definitely, Martin. You still need to come to Tanzania, and that's the promise that you have to keep. That make sure that you come here, and we look forward to welcoming you here. Well, and thank you so much for your time. They say it's very lonely at the top, or the elite are always the lonely ones. I mean, you always sometimes need people to talk to. Also, sometimes when you share ideas like this, they're very helpful, and personally, they can also go out there and also help someone else out there as well. So thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Alan. And everybody, thank you for listening to today's episodes. We are hoping to see you and be with you on the next one as well. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on Beyond the Pivot. Remember to subscribe, follow, and share this episode with anyone passionate about Africa's future in business. For more stories and extra resources, visit tambotiseko.com. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries and shaping the future of African entrepreneurship.